Friends of the Dar, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyyah has, for a long time, good relationship with Malaysia in general and with Al-Bukhary family in particular. In 1998, Al-Bukhary family, through their generosity, decided to open the Islamic Museum in Kuala Lumpur. Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyyah was there to assist. For their opening of this new museum, the Dar loaned a selection of special and very old carpets, accompanied by a beautifully illustrated and colorful publication entitled Zarabi, which you will recognize as a word from the Holy Quran. The museum has since grown considerably in stature and now ranks among the world's leading museums of Islamic art. Syed Mohammad Albukhary has supervised its growth with constant exposure to international developments in the field. Tonight, we are honored to welcome Syed Mohammad Albukhary, the director of the Islamic Art Museum in Malaysia. He was bitten by the art bug when he was studying in Italy, and he channeled that passion into making the Islamic Art Museum a pioneering institution of scholarship and culture. This evening, Mr. Syed Albukhary will discuss the emergence of an Islamic cultural institution in Malaysia. There is no doubt that the Islamic Art Museum in Malaysia is a focal point of his discussion, as well as the major drive behind these activities there. This passion will show through his talk. We in this part of the world, we have a different kind of passion. It's a passion to use mobile phones. But I hope you curb this passion while you are here and turn off your mobile phones. And let's welcome Mr. Syed Mohammad Albukhary.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. I would like to express my thank you to Sheikh Hussa Al-Sabah and Sheikh Nasser for inviting me to give a lecture on looking forwards and looking backwards on the Islamic Arts Museum Malaysia. Please forgive me because this is my first time I'm giving a lecture. I have never given a lecture in my life. So everything, is all, so because of Sheikha, I decided I'll do it for her because she has contributed a lot to our institution in good relationship, in loaning the works of art, in everything. So please forgive me if there is some of the misinformation or forgetful or whatever, All right. First of all, I will start by talking about the old bridge in Florence, Ponte Vecchio. I graduated in London in 1986-87. Then I decided with my business partner to move to Florence to set up a business of import-export between Malaysia and Italy. So that's where I've been living until today. And this city is a city of art, and also it's a city of art where I collect a bit here and there, nothing expensive, And one day in July 1991, while I was taking my lunch break from my office to pass through Ponte Vecchio to go back for home, suddenly I saw a group of Malaysians. And then I said, who's these people? Oh, I seems to know them. And it looks, and it was the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. He was on holiday in the summer, and he was walking, and I'm on my bicycle. And then I stopped and said hello to him and talked. And his secretary said, oh, you are Malaysian? Yeah, I said, I'm a Malaysian, live in Florence. And the secretary gave me his business card, and I said, okay, thank you very much. I said goodbye to the former Prime Minister. That's it. And I didn't know that this is the year that my life is going to be changed forever. So, in 1995, a Lebanese collector of gold coins in Paris offered the whole collection of 2,500 pieces of gold coins to me, to say if I'm interested in buying it. So I said, this collection is so important. I should not be with me. It should be in a museum. So I said, who can I contact? So I go all into my file, and I saw the former the Prime Minister's secretary card. And those days you have to fax, you know. So I faxed to ask for an appointment. I said, oh, maybe the Malaysian government would buy it and put it in their museum. So I wrote to the secretary to ask for an appointment with the Prime Minister, and within a week I got the reply saying that the Prime Minister would give me the appointment. So I flew down, and he was sitting, and I present him the collection. He looks at me and he said, but where are we going to put the collection if we were to buy it? We don't have a museum, you know. So and he said, okay, if you can get me a sponsor to build the museum, because Mahathir, those days, he liked private and government to work together. He doesn't believe in the government running a museum. So he said, okay, we'll put 50% of the money, and if you can get me a private parties to build the museum, then maybe we will buy the collection. So I went back, I talked to my father, my late father, and my brothers. And my late father looked at my brother and said, why don't we build it? You know? So that's how it started. We built the museum, and the museum was built 100%. We said we do not want any government money, because we said once we have the government money, there will be a lot of bureaucracy, interference. So we said we will build it, but the government has to provide us a land that for 99 years, where we will manage and operate the museum at no interference. So the government agreed, and they provide us the land where it is near to the National Mosque and one of the most beautiful area in Kuala Lumpur. So in Malaysia those days, everything you have to do quick. Everything is, you know, you have to do in two years. Everything has to be completed. So I don't know anything about museum, running a museum. I really don't. And my brother also said, if you want to, if we were to build the museum, you have to manage it. We will just provide you the money. So I said, okay. And then they decided to find a Malaysian architect to start doing the design and the work. The architect doesn't know how to build a museum. It's not like those days when you open tenders, competition, these days, you know. So I said, so what am I going to do? So luckily, I was living in Florence, and the contractor who built my house in Florence told me, oh, there is a very nice architect. He just finished the Ferragamo Palace in Via Tornabuoni. The Ferragamo Palace, that he did the restoration, and he did a small shoe museum. Why don't you go and have a look at him and talk to him? So I said, okay. And then that's how I decided. I said, okay, I let Roberto Monsani to design the museum. So when he started designing the museum, he asked me, what do you have in the museum? I said, we don't have anything. We don't have the collection. We don't know anything. We don't. I said, I usually design museum where the object is already around, and we don't even have any object. We didn't even start collecting. We didn't even do anything yet. And then he said, what? And he just came out with his ideas of a concept with an area for gallery, this, that, you know, a rough estimation, and it was around 130,000 square feet. Then, this is a scale model of his modern architecture. So when he designed it, we presented it to the Prime Minister, Mahathir, and he said, it's too modern. You know, this is not Islamic museum, this can be contemporary museum, he said. He said, why don't you go to Iran and start covering the dome with the style of Isfahan, and then he said, the inside of the dome, do the frescoes, you know. Those days, Uzbekistan just got their independence from Russia, and they were such a poor country, and Mahathir said, go and help them, bring them, and let them do some of the work inside of the museum. So, when the architect doesn't like to be told off what they want, you know. So the architect told me, if the Prime Minister wants to be the architect, let him be the architect. So he left. But he said we paid him for his design, his concept. He agreed for us to use his concept of the work. So we proceed with it, but of course from 130,000 square feet, it increased to I'll talk to you later, because then I said to myself, I run a business, I don't run museum, so what do I do? So I said, and those days, the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao was being built also, and I remember Tom Cranks paying the consultant $35 million. And I said, I'm not going to pay $35 million for a consultant. How do I do it? I said, I'll go and start learning myself, you know. So I spent time at the British Museum, at the Met, at the Louvre, at the Guggenheim Museum, Victoria Albert Museum. These are the 5 museums that I spend a lot of my time. From the Guggenheim Museum, I took their ideas, because they were so advanced in their IT technology for their ticketing and for their shop. From the V&A, I took the ideas of their conservation center, because they just opened their conservation center in the V&A. For the British Museum, I just go in because I didn't know anybody at the British Museum. I just walk around, look at the museum shop, look at the people. The Metropolitan Museum, it was Stefano Carboni was the curator those days. He was very helpful. He shows me the Rieti Center of Conservation. He shows me the library. He shows me the galleries, the contemporary, the temporary exhibition. So I said, okay, these are the things that we need to have, you know. And in Louvre, I just go in and look at the museum shop, how they do product, they do publication, all those kind of things. But the most important thing is for the museum shop, the Met. I look at the Met, I say, oh God, they have opened so many satellite stores around the world. And those days, they were making a lot of money. So I said, oh, I remember at one of the exhibition of the Treasures of the World, in 1991, they were telling, oh, the Met shop sell more jewelry at the shop than people coming to see the exhibition. That was a joke, you know, those days, you know. So I said, okay. So after all those studies, I decided to add conservation center, education center, scholars library, our auditorium for the talk, museum restaurant, children library, museum shop, and 2 special galleries that we do temporary exhibition all the time. And from 130,000 square feet, it increased to 300,000 square feet. So that's the story about the thing. Then in May 16, 1997, we start the groundbreaking on the piece of land that the museum is going to be built. This is where all the pattern, the design of how the dome is going to be look ad, it was presented to the Prime Minister. Of course, we don't have any works of art at all. We never have a work. The first acquisition, I remember we bought, the first one in New York, is a 30 Jews 18th century Chinese Quran. That was the first acquisition. And plus 40 Chinese scrolls that was offered to us. So I said, maybe that is a good sign. You know, the first Quran, Chinese, Southeast Asia, in Asia, and it's a good omen. So we said, okay, I decided to buy it. And this is my first acquisition for the museum in 1998. Of course, at the same time, the Malaysian government also have like nearly 6,000 of their old manuscript collection where are kept in the storeroom. So what the government said is that if you build the museum, you have to take this collection and you have to restore it, you have to clean it, and whatever is important, you have to display on it. So we said, we'll agree. We will be the custodian of all this object. You know, those days we don't have anything. So that's how it works. And then the museum team. So what I did was, I said, okay, I don't have a team. I don't have expert. So how do I get all the experts to come in? So I pinched the director of marketing at Malaysian Airlines, the director of IT at Malaysian Airlines, and the HR at Malaysian Airlines. Because IT for airlines is very important, marketing for airlines is very important, and HR for airlines is very important. So these are the first core of team that joined me. So we set up our curatorial affairs department, our collection management. The collection management, I learned it from the British Museum. The British Museum has a wonderful collection system management. I said, from day one, when all the collection, all the objects that we buy, it has to be cataloged. It cannot be put in the storeroom, or else it will be backload, you know, all the time. That's what museum, I think, European museum and some museum, they have so many millions of objects that some of it is not even cataloged properly. So I said, I have to make sure the collection management system is in place. The next section is, I said, conservation. Conservation center is very important because object comes in, some need to be cleaned, some need to be restored, you know. So these are the other aspects of the museum that I said to myself, it has to be part of the building of the museum. And then we set up a display unit. The display unit of the museum is to display. We never send anything out to third party to do the display. So the object will come to the conservation, the display team will come in and have a look at the object. They have all the latest technology, the 3D, the laser cutter. So they will do all the display for the object. Then the maintenance. Of course, museum is very important because a lot of people think that museum is only for the public, but the maintenance of the building is very important. You know, I used to go every week, every Saturday, you know, with the head of maintenance, going around to see make sure the ASU is working, the aircon is working, the humidity is functioning, where are the things in orders or not, because this is so important to a museum. It's not only building, it's maintaining the building itself. The next thing that the Scholars Library. The library is very important because we said we need to do research. You know, we need to have books on Islamic art, Islamic history, titles that research that our curator can go in and look at it and do some research, not only on internet. You know, everybody now goes on how you say Google, everything Google. So I said to them, no, of course you can Google, but go to the main subject, the books. So that's how I set up the Scholars Library. Of course, another part of the museum is the education center. The education is so important. I really do not know how Kuwait works with the education. In Malaysia, when we set up the museum, education on art is so low, because everybody tends to go to shopping malls to do, you know, and I said to myself, of course, I would not see the result during my lifetime. Maybe my children or my grandchildren will see it. So it is already 20 years we set up the education. Now we are seeing the school visit, the school university coming in, and the results are very good because during the opening days of the museum, we only have 3,000 visitors. Now we have nearly 20 to 25,000 a month. And then another department that I set up is a graphic unit. Graphic is a department that they do everything in-house for exhibition, for catalog, and for product development of all the museum shop. And the museum shop, as I told Sheikh Hausa, that is one of the biggest income to the museum because I run a business. So I have to make sure that the museum shop have to make money. And they've been making money from day one until today. You know, so that is the most important thing of the team of the museum. So the next thing we did was a soft opening on the 12th of December, 1998. Because in Malaysia, everything has to be done quick, you know. In 18 months, the museum was ready, you know, to be open, but it wasn't really in a good condition until 1999, when we did the first exhibition of Zarabi, the stunning showcase of carpet collection from Sheikh Hausa. Beautiful. I remember you still... No, you know tonight. Of course, and then another department that, as I told you, is very important is our education department. Education department is very important. We have every week, Saturday and Sunday, calligraphy classes. From day one, we open. This is an art that is dying in Malaysia. So there is a group of association of calligraphers came to see me when I opened the museum and said, they are elderly. They said, they would like the young generation to be taught. This is an art that is dying, they told me. You know, so I said, okay, I'll give you the center. You all run it and do the classes. So these are all the classes. And every 2 years, they have an exam. Exam for the competition, calligraphy competition. Another aspect of the museum that is very important is the children's library. You know, children's library is to encourage kids to come in to do to look at all our books. We have a lot of Islamic books and for children, and also non-Islamic books. And every Saturday they will have craft, they will have storytelling activities. You know, and it has been becoming one of the popular programs since we opened the museum. Of course, another important part is the Conservation Center, launched in 2005. And this is also, of course, as you know, the object is not only for display, but also it needs to be conserved, needs to be restored from time to time. Malaysia is also with the humidity, fungus seems to attack the object. So from time to time, we have to take it out from the gallery and clean it up, you know, and up to since 2004, they have preserved nearly 5,000 artifacts, you know, clean, restore. The next subject that I need to discuss is the Scholars Library. The Scholars Library was opened in 2008 because the museum is done in a way, we plan it, but we open it stage by stage. We cannot do it all at the same time. So that's where the size from 130 to 300,000 square feet become, because we allocate the area and then we just prepare the collection, the books, everything bit by bit. Like back to the Conservation Center, the Conservation Center, I remember those days. I went. They just opened the Liverpool Conservation Center in Liverpool, one of the best conservation center that exists during those days, 1999, like that. And I went there and I said to them, can you help me? So they designed our conservation center to help us to the planning for the center, but I just give them the space. of course, another thing is to train the staff for the conservation center. The staff are all young students from the university that we train, Islamic University in Malaysia, that we train them in history of art. The first batch, we took them to work for the museum. Of course, at the same time, we brought in experts from Germany, from India, from Iran, from Australia, to train them. So now they are becoming more expert themselves. Of course, the Scholars Library is very important. Because to concentrate on the books, the book is with the books. There are so many libraries in Malaysia. So I said, how do I concentrate on certain topics of books? So I decided I will only concentrate on history of art, history of Islamic Empire, and in all languages, in French, in German, in Russia. So they are only for research on history of art, all kind of history of art, on Islamic history of art. So we have nearly 20,000 volume and 4,000 rare book under rare book collection. And there is a system that you just type it in, you can find everywhere, whatever title that you can log in on our website, you can just check in. And this is the thing that we allow the master and PhD student to do the research. And this is the floor plan from our museum, lower ground. The lower ground, ground floor where the entrance is, and the special level 1 and level 2 where all our permanent gallery is. This is our permanent gallery. Of course, the permanent gallery, we started with the history of Islamic architecture. So that is the first one, the history of Islamic architecture. And what we did was we have all models from all the important building in the world, and we explain about the Islamic architecture done during those empires, And the models are also built by the Institute of Architecture in Uzbekistan. They are really a poor institute, so we thought we give them all the project to help their center to earn some money for this project. So then after the architecture, we have the manuscript gallery. The manuscript start with the Quran gallery. Then we have India, because what we did was, because Malaysia is a multinational country with India, Chinese, and Malay. So we decided to dedicate a gallery to India, to the Malay world, and next to the Chinese. And then on the other permanent gallery also, we have the arms and armor. We have a tiny collection of jewelry. Of course, it's not as big as Al-Sabah collection. And then we have textile. We have wood gallery, and we have coins. We have ceramic. We have glass. And then we also have lifestyle gallery. So lifestyle is a thing that we build. This is based on Ottoman. The doors, everything during the Ottoman period. Another important part that we decided to dedicate is the Palestinian War. This is one of the most popular information of the history of Palestine during the Seljuk, until we didn't want to get involved in politics until 1948. So this is so popular. It was on the top of the floor of the permanent gallery, and it is always with people reading and understanding the history. And then somebody said to me, why they were taking pictures, everything, and then they said to me, can we buy the thing? So we print it out and we sell it in the museum for like 50 cents. So this is to tell the people about the history of Palestine, Of course, this is, as I told you, the artifact mounting unit where they did their own display, you know. Because the trouble with my museum is that I just like to do everything in-house. I want to train the young people to understand, because they are the future. Because the minute we close our eyes, if we don't train the young, you know, who are going to take over? You know, so they are the future. So these are the type of, these are done by maybe 24, 25 years old kids, you know, university students. Of course, then we have the temporary exhibition. Since 1999 to 2017, we have nearly 60 temporary exhibitions held at the Islamic Arts Museum Malaysia. And also we have a photography exhibition from time to time. And also since 1999, we have published 49 titles of all the publication, our publication. This is, as I told you, the museum shop is the income making, so they pay for all our publication, for all the publication thing. Of course, this is some of our museum collection, some of the collection. At the moment, the museum hosting nearly 11,000 artifacts from Persia, Middle East, China, India, include 6,000 that was in our custody given by the Malaysian government. Of course, another aspect of the museum, we are starting to collect contemporary Muslim calligraphy. Of course, to collect calligraphy is very difficult. So I said, as an Islamic museum, I said to myself, how do we collect? Do we go for the modern art, or we go for calligraphy? So I said, okay, let's go for calligraphy. So we just focus on calligraphy, abstract, verses, non-verses, all this kind of thing. Now we have nearly 400 pieces of Islamic calligraphy collected around the world. Of course, my most favorite thing is the museum shop and product development. You know, so we produce our own product that is, and in the morning, because of the system that I have in the museum shop, that I can go on my computer or all the computer to check how much money I make minute by minute, which product sells more, which product sells less, you know. So these are the things that help me to understand what are the most important products that sell and don't sell. And at the same time, also for the ticketing, I can tell minute by minute the number of visitors, students, foreigners, pensioners, all kind of things from day one. That thanks to the Guggenheim Museum. They are the one who taught me, said, make sure the system is in place. So when I brought the IT from Malaysian Airlines, the infrastructure was all in place for the museum. That was 1997. And the system is still up and running. Of course, this is some of our international collaboration. We work with the British Museum, British Library, Stipet Museum, al-Athar, Alexandra Library. The director of Alexandra Library is here. We loaned some of our objects to the Alexandra Library, the National Museum of India, the National Museum of Iran, Singapore and US, Islamic Museum in Melbourne and Sharjah. But the most important thing is we tend to work a lot with Australia. Australia has invested a lot of money on art. The recent loan was, we loaned for 9 months the introduction of Islamic calligraphy to New South Wales Museum in Sydney. It is due back to us in end of this month. And then recently we have an inquiry from Kyoto, Japan, and the National Museum of Tokyo. So some of my staff are going there end of this month to discuss with them to promote Islamic art in that part of the world, because it's not well known. You know, people want to know, want to learn everything, and this is the part of the museum that we do. And of course, this is our museum auditorium that takes around 250 for the lectures. This is when Professor Tariq Ramadan give a lecture at the museum. Another thing that we have also is visiting scholars and internship program. What I did was, I like to take young people for intern. You know, when they apply for intern, I always say yes. I never said no from any countries. But the only request is they have to be 3 to 6 months, because if 1 month, they do not learn anything for the intern. So these are some of the university that we work with, and the recent thing that we did was with Charles Stewart University, when they brought in 12 students who study Islamic art to do a workshop for 12 days in our museum to study about Islamic art, to touch the object, conservation, how to do research. And the program was so successful that the Australian and the Malaysian university decided to do it yearly. So we're going to host it again in 2018. Of course, our recognition from 2013, 14, 15, we are the first traveler's choice for tourist attraction in Malaysia, beating the Twin Tower. And of course, these are some of the things. And as I told you, our visitors numbers, those days when we opened, it was like nearly even 3,000 is very difficult. Now it comes to between 20 to 22,000 visitors a month. Of course, this is the most important part, that the Prophet Muhammad said, seeking knowledge is a duty on every Muslim. You know, so we decided to be the custodian of art and history and heritage, restorer of works of art for the future generation, and education. Education is the most important part. You know, I've been telling the education department, please, even you have a setback, don't give up. Always go forward. Work with the education ministry, work with the university. Even they don't come, 4 or 5 people, at least you have something. These are the most important history that we need to leave for the future generation. And then the museum logo, of course, we designed the museum logo, Islamic Arts Museum Malaysia in Kufic style. This is the last collaboration with the al-Athar, Islamic Treasures of the World, when we host for nearly 6 months. Thank you to Sheikh Husa, because this was the last stop of the exhibition before it was put to rest. The next thing that we are coming to is we are collaborating with the Albukhary Foundation and the British Museum for the new Islamic Gallery at the British Museum, which is due to open in 2018, October. This is, I was telling you, Sheikh, this is the temporary exhibition where we're going to do a small mini exhibition on the Arabesque. And then after that, it's going to be an exhibition on the Southeast Asian art, Islamic art of Southeast Asia. Because the trouble is that people tend to think that Islamic art comes from the Middle East. But the most important thing people don't understand is the Muslim community, the biggest is in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China. China has nearly 100 million Muslims. That is, they said 50, but uncounted, nearly 100 million. Myanmar, Philippines in Mindanao, Malaysia, Singapore. So these are the part of the world that has been neglected a lot. So now a lot of museums around the world, they want to know about the Southeast Asia. Tomorrow, the president of France is coming to Malaysia to sign an agreement with us, with Guinea, to do an exhibition on Southeast Asia, Islamic art of Southeast Asia, to start promoting Southeast Asia in that part of the world. And I was in New York to talk to Tom Campbell, and he also said he would like to start promoting Southeast Asia, because there is an important part of the world that it needs to be told. So this is the gallery that is going to be open in 2018, the British Museum, where I don't know whether any of you have been to the Islamic department, the Islamic Gallery at the British Museum. They are moving it to the main court, where the Norman Foster is. On top of the space is twice as big as the old space. While I was doing my research, so interesting for this thing, I realized every year that since we opened, I've been buying Quran. This is my final acquisition, either vellum leaf of Seljuk or Safavid or Qajar. This is the latest acquisition in 2016, and also it's a Quran. So I thought it was something that I never thought of it. I always buy, and after doing research, the first Quran, and every year in all the acquisitions, there's always a Quran because we don't have collection, so we have to add our collection all the time. So this is the latest acquisition and the first acquisition, also a Quran. And this is the end of the talk. And of course, I would like to thank Sheikh Husa for giving me the opportunity to talk, and also for promoting. You know, what the al-Athar al-Islamiyyah is doing is a great thing, service to the public. Before I leave, I will play you a bit about the museum so to have a look about, to understand a bit about the museum.